And I just wanted to welcome you guys. My name is Brittany Giroudi. I help Sally Lipsky run Plant-Based Pittsburgh. We are a nonprofit group here in Pittsburgh, PA that help support the community, Pittsburgh, and now virtually all across the United States and beyond with whole food plant-based eating. We are so excited for today's presentation from Michelle. So I'm going to introduce her for a minute and then let her get started. Michelle lives in Peters Township in the South Hills with her husband and 3 little boys. She is the founder and owner of Remedy Kitchen Vegan Food Co. That specializes in meal prep and delivery service, serving Pittsburgh and the surrounding areas. Remedy Kitchen's menus change weekly, and they prepare only whole food, plant-based, oil-free meals, which are delivered to their customers' doorsteps in sustainable containers such as glass Pyrex, mason jars, silicone bags, and mesh produce bags. They pick up those containers to sanitize them and reuse. All meals are made from scratch and are designed to provide great nutrition along with satisfying good taste. And today, Michelle is going to be preparing a tabbouleh salad and a lemon artichoke hummus, which can be made into a wrap for school lunches or an adult lunch to go. So I'm gonna pass this over to Michelle, and thank you guys so much for attending. This is recorded and will be sent out tomorrow if you miss it or if you come in late.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Brittany. So I'm Michelle Magrino, and this is my first demo. So I understand this is a very forgiving crew. So thank you for attending and for your interest. I was going to start off with a vegan joke, but I didn't want to be cheesy. Wow, holding for applause. A little bit more about me is, as Brittany had introduced me, I have 3 little boys at home and a husband, and my oldest is 7. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. And so when I started to get into whole food, plant-based, oil-free eating, like I think many of you probably experience, it's basically a must-have to be able to cook at home, because when you're ordering out or you're going out to restaurants, you're not exactly getting what you want. So I really started to gain an interest and develop a passion around this way of cooking and this way of eating. And as I started to explore, I came to realize that there's so much more to vegan eating than what I initially had thought or assumed incorrectly. And it took some time, it took some practice, but after I started finding flavors that really worked, and I could easily swap out any kind of processed food, any kind of meat, and test it on my husband where, you know, he wasn't missing the meat. I knew I was on something. And when I have a table full of my family enjoying the food, I know that that's an absolute must-have on the menu, because we all know that's hard to come by and hard won. So I started cooking a lot for friends and family, people who would have a new baby or come home from surgery, or you know, just a little surprise because I made extra food, and I would drop food off at my friends' houses, and I would, you know, drop off soup in mason jar containers and glass Pyrex, and people began to encourage me to formalize what I was doing. So I looked into the Center for Nutrition, the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition, got my certification there, and have been rocking and rolling with Remedy Kitchen ever since. So as Brittany had said, we prepare weekly menus that are refreshed each week, and our containers that we use are, you know, our mason jars, our glass Pyrex, our silicone bags, our mesh produce bags, and they're all color coded and packaged up into these insulated tote bags that we have that we deliver to our clients all around the city and suburbs. So the following week we'll go back, and as we're delivering, we're either swapping it out with somebody's new set of meals or picking up from people, so that we can get all of those old tote bags back sanitized and ready for reuse. So that's something that is not easy, but we've turned it into a process, and we're really proud of the waste that we're saving when it comes to that. I think the food tastes better whenever it's being stored in the refrigerator. It holds longer, and of course, we're not adding to more waste. So that's what we do, and I would love it if anybody has any questions related to what we do, or assuming we have a wide range of people with experience with plant-based eating. So we'll have some questions at the end. I pulled my social media following and asked if there were any questions. So I have a few that I could cover as well once we're done with the demo. So with that said, we're focused on plant-based lunches and preparing for kids. When I think about preparing lunches for kids and feeding my kids, one important thing that kind of drives me crazy whenever I go out to restaurants is there's like a kids menu, and then there's the adult menu. But when it comes to my kids, I feed them the adult food, sometimes in a different way, but it's still the same food. So for example, I might deconstruct a salad so that there's the greens and the chickpeas and whatever other toppings, because a couple of them like it separate and not all mixed together. I might create a wrap where in this example here with the tabbouleh and the hummus, it can easily be turned into a wrap. And my kids, one of my golden finds is that I can take most things and put it in a wrap and they'll eat it. So that's one of the things that I like to do. And when I think about plant-based lunches, I think about what are we going to eat as a family? And then how can I make that either small enough so that they could, eat it on their own, or deconstructed or flavored. I obviously don't put the hot spices in for their food, but how can I make that available for them so that they can eat the same thing, and I'm making the most out of the effort that I have in the kitchen. So where I landed today is, I think, something that's very doable, something that you could prepare in advance, and the hummus you could even freeze, so it freezes very well. Not sure if we have any folks on the line who are gluten-free eaters, but the tabbouleh can be made gluten-free as well, and no nuts at all in this meal. So definitely something that's pretty easy, light on major allergens, and you can make it in advance. In fact, it tastes better when you make it in advance. So before I get started, are there any questions, or should I just jump right in?
Sorry, I didn't catch all that you're preparing today.
Oh, sure. It's I'm making a tabbouleh salad and a lemon asparagus hummus. And I'm preparing that so that they could be eaten separately, or they could be put together in a wrap and more easily put in a lunchbox and eaten by the kids. So in terms of equipment, I'll start with the tabbouleh. And in terms of equipment, what you'll need is a pot of water. You don't even have to really use a stove. You could even just use a microwave. You just need to get water boiling. So either a stove or a glass that you could use in a microwave to heat up the water. And I'm not sure if everybody is on the line has had tabbouleh before, but it's a dish that, and I looked up kind of where it derived from, the word tetbil, which means to season. And the recipe for tabbouleh revolves around its main ingredients of parsley. So it's a parsley based salad. And the key to the success with tabbouleh is how fine you're going to chop the parsley up and the balance of the seasoning and the ingredients. So the most common recipe for tabbouleh, and it's spelled two different ways. So it's either Tabbouleh or Tabouli, but I'm probably not even pronouncing it 100%, but that's how I say it. Typically, it has parsley, tomatoes, mint, onions, fine bulgur wheat, and then it's mixed with a seasoning of lemon juice, olive oil, salt, and pepper. And my recipe does not include olive oil. And I am including some cumin. So what I like about tabbouleh is you can make it in advance. It tastes better the next day. Pop it in the fridge, and you've got either a salad or something you can add on to a wrap, and have many meals out of it. So in order to make the tabbouleh, we're using bulgur wheat. So it comes in just these little packages of them. You really don't need much in order to make a nice size salad. But bulgur wheat is, obviously if you're gluten-free, you're not going to want to use this. It's easily swapped out if you want to use quinoa. So use your favorite grain. Brittany was talking about her dinner tonight, and it included farro, and I love farro. You can put any grain in this, and it will still taste wonderful. So in order to cook bulgur wheat, you really don't have to do much. All you have to do is take a cup of the dry bulgur wheat and pour over it a cup and a half of boiling water. So I've done that in advance because you have to let it sit off of the stove for an hour. So this is what it ends up looking like. Nice and fluffy grain, and it will absorb all the wonderful flavors that we're going to add into it. I typically just use the pot that I have on the stove that I'm boiling water in. If you have a kettle and you're boiling water that way, you can have a bowl with a cup of the bulgur wheat and add the boiling water onto it and just put either a dish or a lid or something on top of it. And it will basically just cook itself from there. I always peek. I can't help myself. I peek at about a half an hour and give it a little bit of a stir. And so depending on how much you're cooking at once, if you're only cooking a cup, you might be fine, and you can kind of test to see if it's already cooked all the way through. You're going to have it off of the heat, so there's no harm in it being burned on the bottom or anything like that. So 1 cup will provide you with about 3 cups coming out. So that's basically the first step. You let that go as you're preparing the rest. So I'll just go through the rest of the ingredients really quick. And what I love about this is that the amounts don't really matter. It's whatever your taste is. I've also added a little bit of a twist because I love Ina Garten, and she just is very good with flavors. And so I like to take the recipes that she's prepared and modify them so that they're whole food, plant-based, oil-free. And so she puts cucumbers in hers, and it tastes really good with the mint. So I have a cup of diced cucumbers. I have almost 2 cups of grape tomatoes that I like to slice vertically, like this. I've got a 1/4 cup of red onion, finely diced, a 1/2 cup of parsley, a 1/4 cup of mint, both chopped, 1 green onion, thinly sliced, and we'll talk about how far to go down, but basically use all of the white part all the way up until the root. 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then about 5 or 6 turns of cracked black pepper, which amounts to about 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. So once you have the bulgur ready to go, it's really just a matter of adding the ingredients. I like to make sure that I add the lemon juice in as evenly as possible so that it's absorbing straight in as the bulgur is still warm. So I'm just gonna take a bowl here and get all of the bulgur wheat down into it. I'm not very advanced with my, I hope I don't mess this up, but I'm gonna try to lean this down so that you'll be able to see a little bit better. Let's see. Okay, probably should have done that. I need a cameraman. Really have to. Oops. Okay, sorry everyone. Okay, so let's just start at the top. And what we'll be adding in is the 2 cups of grape tomatoes. So I have them sliced, like I said, vertically. If you're making this for a large group of people, it's a lot of tomatoes to slice. You could use larger tomatoes and just cut out the seeds so that it's not as difficult, but I really like the look and the taste of the grape tomatoes or the cherry tomatoes. Then I have a cup of the cucumbers. I peel them, but you don't necessarily have to. And then I dice them to be about bite size so that everything's about the same size. And then I've got a 1/4 cup of red onion, just finely diced. You don't want to go too hard on the red onion because then you'll have an imbalance of flavor. You want just enough to add a kick. And then you've got a 1/2 cup of parsley and a 1/4 cup of mint. So in terms of parsley and mint, I'm not sure about you guys, but I always tend to have more that I get from the grocery store than I need. And the way that I store the parsley and mint is like they're a bouquet of flowers. Who else does this? Is this something, I don't know, this, yeah. It helps it to just stay fresher. You can even leave it out on your countertop, or you could put it in your fridge. You just have to be careful that you have enough room. And it keeps for quite some time. And it's a nice scent as you walk by it. So just mix that in. The mint and the cucumber just taste so good together. So that's why I like to add that. Then I have a cup of green onions that are, yeah, it's a good hack. It's better than flowers in my mind. I love having the fresh herbs out. So I have a cup of green onions that I finely diced. And as far as those, when I bring those home, you guys tell me if you do anything, there's an even better hack, but I like to cut off the root end here so that it propagates. So you can cut it off, put it in a little mason jar or anything with water, and it'll just start to grow roots and regrow. So, you know, if you need that 1/3 cup of green onions, you can just run over to your little jar and you've got it there. It doesn't take any effort. Once I cut that off, then, I'll rinse it and wrap the green onion in paper towel and put it in open Ziploc bag in the fridge. Yeah, I was trying to tilt it. It was just going a little, let me see if I have a weight that I could.
That is good.
Yeah, I just can't hold it
Oh.
there. It was, let me see if I could put something to hold it back that way so it doesn't tilt. It's like top heavy. Oh, I know. Let me see. Sorry, everyone. Down here. How's that? A little bit better. How's that? Is it too close? Okay, thank you. Okay, great. It's starting to take shape. So then the next, I said 1 tablespoon before. I actually have 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So this is where, we're not using oil. We want this to incorporate nice and even. So I drizzle it, I give it a nice stir just to make sure I'm not overloading one part of it and not the other. So that's 2 tablespoons of the lemon juice. And then I have some seasoning. So as I said, I have a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of black pepper. So again, this is where you want to sprinkle, mix, sprinkle, mix. I mean, really, once I started cooking without oil, it shocked me how easy it is and how you really don't need it. I don't know about you guys, but it was just like, I have no idea why we really need to use oil when we're cooking. It incorporates so well. Okay, so this is the tabbouleh. That's all the ingredients. You can always add in, any of your favorite other flavors, especially, when it comes to the spices, but I like to keep it simple. I don't like to have a whole bunch of spices out on my countertop when I'm trying to do things and I've got kids running around me and very limited time. So, so this is the tabbouleh. All you have to do is put it in a container, pop it in the refrigerator, let it sit overnight, let the flavors kind of come together, and guaranteed, do a little test when you taste it, and then you taste it the next day. There was a definite taste difference. So that is the tabbouleh. So we'll pop that over here until we make our wrap. Now, let me move on to our hummus. So our hummus is going to be, let's see if I can put it up here. Our hummus is going to be a lemon asparagus hummus, so it goes well with the flavors of the tabbouleh. It'll keep in the fridge for, my rule is like 5 days. You always want to give it the sniff test. I've never tried freezing this, but because of the tomatoes, I don't think that would freeze very well. But yeah, I think 5 days is pretty much the limit. And you could prep this in advance in terms of the making the bulgur wheat and then chopping up the other vegetables. So you could even kind of like bulk prep it if you want to do it that way. The hummus is the same, and the hummus you can definitely freeze. So you just want to make sure that you have the right freezing point in your jar or whatever container you're using, so it doesn't, you don't have a problem in there. The ingredients for the hummus, and you're going to want a food processor, is 3 cups of garbanzo beans or chickpeas, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, a third of a cup of water. But in this case, I used the aquafaba from the chickpeas, or the liquid from the chickpeas, a quarter of a cup of tahini, which is 4 tablespoons, 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, which you really don't have to worry about mincing too much. You can just pop them right into the food processor. You just want it to be chunked up enough, and a half teaspoon of salt. So all of that goes into the food processor, and you're going to have a cup of canned artichoke hearts. So those are going to be drained and rinsed, and you're just going to chop them up. And then after the hummus is made, you're going to mix it in by hand. And then that way you get kind of the artichoke heart flavor in there, and it's not completely pulverized in there. So this is another thing where you're going to want it to sit overnight, and it'll taste wonderful together. One other thing that I thought I'd share, and I'm curious if any of you guys know about this, but does anybody put ice cubes in their hummus when they're making like just regular ice cubes? I've seen it in quite a few recipes, and it helps to make the hummus creamier. So you don't want to over liquefy, so you kind of have to adjust with the amount of liquid that you're putting in. But if you put like 2 ice cubes, it's not like an overload of it. It helps to make the hummus nice and creamy. So one little tidbit. So the other thing with chickpeas, and this is just like a hack that I like. I have an Instant Pot. I have many Instant Pots, and I love using them because I can get so much more out of dried chickpeas, dried grains, and make them really quick without having to put much effort into it. So if you do that, you always see that you have to soak beans overnight, and I think that's a put off to a lot of people in terms of actually like cooking your own beans. But I like to do it. You don't have to, if you have an Instant Pot or something similar, you don't have to do that. You really just, if you have a pound of beans, it typically translates into about 5 cups of cooked beans. And so you just pop them in to your Instant Pot. You make sure that you have about 8 cups of water per cup of dried beans. And I'll double check that so we can put it in the email. But you put it in for about 30 minutes, and you've got a whole Instant Pot of cooked beans, any beans, not just garbanzo beans. So that's great, and it's really easy to do, and you can pop these into the freezer so that you've got them available. They'll hold in their own juice in a mason, like a sealed mason jar in the fridge for about a week too. So that's another easy thing. For those of you who are looking for ideas for kids, if you have kids that like chickpeas or kids that like hummus, my kids love having chickpeas with some balsamic vinegar and salt. That's it. And they'll eat like a huge bowl of that. After I discovered that, I started adding in greens and like really finely chopped up greens. Yeah, they do. They don't taste as canned. If I do buy them prepared, I buy them in those little Tetra boxes. They don't have that metallic kind of taste. I don't know if that's just in my head, but that's what I taste. So anyway, that's definitely a really good treat for your kids, or pop it into their lunch boxes with a little, even just a little bit of salt, and that's it. And you get lots of protein and fiber and all the benefits of chickens. So put 3 cups in, regardless of how you get to that 3 cups, either through Instant Pot or through the prepared kind. And you're going to have 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. You're going to have 1/3 of a cup of water. And like I said, I have the aquafaba. I have about 1/3 of a cup here. And I'm just going to leave a little bit out so that I can put some of the ice cubes in. And I'd love to hear from you guys if you test that with making your own hummus, how that works. Tahini. Do you guys like tahini? It's a staple in my kitchen. It adds creaminess, lots of flavor. It's basically just, the roasted sunflower seeds. I don't like to get the tahini that is raw. It has more of a bitter flavor to me. I like to get the tahini that has, the seeds have been roasted before they've been processed. So pop the tahini in, 2 teaspoons of garlic. Sorry for the loud noise. That's our refrigerator. We have a humongous refrigerator here, and it works hard. So we've got the 2 teaspoons of garlic. Make sure you zest the lemon before you squeeze the lemon. It's always, I hate when I forget to read ahead. Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, this is our commercial kitchen. And it is, it's great. Got lots of space here. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And you can always add a little bit more if you feel like you need it. But we don't really need that much. And that's it. So let me add in my little ice cubes. Our ice cube maker here is, it makes these little ice cubes. So I'm equating it to about 2 large ice cubes that you might get out of your refrigerator at home. So I'm just gonna you're gonna want it to stop and kind of scrape down the sides just to make sure everything's incorporating very nicely.
Oops, I don't know if we lost her. Hopefully she'll pop back in. But you will get the recipes tomorrow with the recording. So if you missed the exact amounts that she did for both of those, they will be sent out. As long as you were signed up, you'll be on that email. So we'll give her a couple minutes. I think she got kicked out of the room. And while we're waiting for her to come back, since we're doing a little bit more Middle Eastern style recipes today, does anyone have a favorite Middle Eastern dish? If you want to type that in the chat, we can see what everyone answers while we wait.
Sorry, I'm back.
Okay, no worries.
I was yakking away and I looked over and the screen was blank. So I think that
someone did have a question on how much tahini you used.
I put in 4 tablespoons of tahini, which is 1/4 cup.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm. Yeah, and I was just in the middle of saying that. I think you can see. I was just in the middle of scraping down the side because you want to make sure that you're getting all of the ingredients kind of incorporated. So I was just doing that and then letting it. And what you'll end up with.
Your sound sounds a little bit muffled. Is it? I would just check to see if it's not down on your speaker. by
Oh,
chance.
I'm sorry. My phone had died, so it was my. How does that sound?
That sounds better.
Okay, it's probably maybe the microphone was like under the computer here, but you'll end up with a nice creamy hummus. What I love about hummus is the versatility. So this is something where it's a must-have in your fridge, and you can change the kind of hummus that you make every week and not get bored. Or if you find something that you really like, you can prepare it and make a nice big batch of it. You can add it to a nice Buddha bowl. If you have greens, some grains, whatever toppings you want to add, and add on a few spoonfuls of hummus, mix it all together, and you have a great meal. Make a wrap with it, or even just have a dip for a snack. Sometimes we typically have a hummus almost every week on our menu. I love making roasted beet hummus. So there's a bit of a variation in the fundamentals. So, whatever we're adding in, but you could take, the basics here and add in some roasted beets, mix them up, and you have a wonderful beet hummus. If you ever go to the grocery store and you see the spices that are already prepared, like the everything bagel spices, every now and then we'll have an everything bagel hummus on our menu, and we put all the spices together here. But that's an easy hack. You could go to the grocery store in the spice aisle and get the everything spices. It's fennel and various spices that go into what you would have on an everything bagel. It tastes so good, super flavorful. So you can mix and match when it comes to the hummus and have like a different flavor and a different kind of hummus every single week. And it is great for you. So what we have here, and I'm gonna angle down. I should have started with this. This is a better angle. We finally have this, and the last ingredients are artichoke hearts. Sounds good. So who likes artichoke hearts? Of course, you could choose to not include them, but this is a nice way to kind of flavor it up, have a new, a new variation to your hummus, and it matches so well with the tabbouleh. It adds nice texture if you're going to be having it, all together in a wrap. So you'll have about a half a cup of artichoke hearts. And again, it's really your preference how much you put in. So what did I do with my bowl? So you'll take your bowl. Watch yourself with the food processor. And add your hummus in. Add your artichoke hearts in. I'm just going to add everything because I like it that way. Try it for yourself, see how much works for you. And this might be something new for kiddos. So, you'll have to temper that with what their texture tastes are like and things like that. Some kids need to work up to having some variety. But that's where we just slowly add in the variety. So what we've got here is our tabbouleh and our hummus. And what I like to do for the kids is create the wrap. And while you're at it, make a wrap for yourself, or 2 or 3. I've got these cute little containers that I ordered that have Remedy Kitchen on them, that I've been testing out. And this is what I pack my husband's lunches in. So, you know, if I was packing for him and he didn't want to wrap, I would just pop in. Actually, what I would do is use this for the wrap. And I've got these bifurcated containers. So, you know, if you guys have those boxes, lunch boxes that they make with the stainless steel, it's great because, you know, it keeps so well. You don't have to worry about them chipping. But yeah, here's the wrap. And I'm always an overloader when it comes to wraps. But how beautiful is that? Now, will the kids appreciate this? I hope so. But I'm curious to know, are my kids the only ones where, you know, if you put it in a wrap, they'll eat it? I don't know, but it works for us. And just pop it into here. I would put it in with maybe a couple of slices of fruit, or something that I can contain on the other side with like a piece of parchment paper, so it doesn't ooze into, you know, if there's any kind of juices from the fruit, it doesn't ooze into the wrap. Or alternatively, depending on who you're preparing for, what their style is, you know, get a compartmental lunch dish. These are awesome. And you can put quite a bit in it. And sometimes I'll add like an extra slice of lemon to add some fresh lemon juice on, or sprinkle the top with some salt. But there we go. And it doesn't have to be completely full. You can add a pita over to the side over here that you could dip and enjoy. And there you go. You could pack a whole bunch of these and stack them into your refrigerator. So that's the meal. And you could even, if your kids aren't really into the tabbouleh, like I was saying before, you could deconstruct the tabbouleh for them. So, you know, maybe they'd like the bulgur wheat by itself, the cucumbers and the tomatoes by itself. You know, you have to kind of play around with what they like. One of the questions that I got from one of our social followers is, you know, how do I get my kids interested in eating like this? How do I manage my family's meals if they're not 100% bought into this way of eating? And in my opinion is everybody's different. Everybody has different tastes. So you kind of have to meet them where they are, and just be gentle about it, especially when it comes to kids. I don't emphasize if something, you know, this is vegan and this is why we're eating it. You know, I just give it to them and see how they like it. And now that they're getting older, we talk about why we choose to eat certain kinds of foods and why we choose not to eat certain kinds of foods. So they have a greater appreciation for that now. But, you know, when it comes to other relatives or people who you might be serving at your house, you know, you just kind of meet them in the middle and try to find things that they might order anyway that's not labeled vegan, but it just so happens to be, you know, tasty and healthy. So that was one of the questions that that I had is, you know, how do we help to get our family onto it? Well, you just kind of play around with their tastes are, and what their tastes are not, and let them be honest with you about whatever they're, you know, I really don't like cucumbers. I just can't stand the taste of cucumbers. So when you make things like that, you know, or a texture thing, I have one of my kids really doesn't like certain kinds of textures. And to me, it just doesn't, you know, like, oh, this is great. I can't, you know, why wouldn't you like this? But it's the texture. So, you know, like tofu, for example. So I try to work around those kinds of things. But what questions do we have now? Does this seem like something that you guys would try making?
Someone did have a question on the box, like brand that you buy. Could you send us that link as well whenever you send the rest?
Bulgur?
No, for the actual packaging of the stainless steel lunch
Oh,
boxes.
yeah. Yeah, no, so I got these, and they're custom made for Remedy Kitchen. So I was playing around with changing the containers that we have, and I wasn't sure if we were going to do that or not. So it's a manufacturer that makes it. But
Good idea if you sell them someday.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that. Like if people would be interested in containers that would help to kind of like make the process easier. That's, you know, one of the things that we like to focus on is how can we make this as easy as possible to eat healthy. And, you know, one thing is having that lunchbox that you can just like take out of your fridge and take with you, or take out of your fridge and give to your significant other, your child, whatever. So yeah, that's a good idea. Well, if there's interest in it, maybe we'll offer it.
What type of wrap do you use, Michelle?
So this is not the type of wrap that I typically use. I like Ezekiel. But I just, as I was preparing for today, the Ezekiel brand wasn't, I didn't have it. But I like that because the ingredients don't include oil. What about you guys? Do your delivery, oh, I missed that. Went away.
She was asking, do your delivery meals contain oil?
No, so we don't cook at all with oil. And it's not even in our kitchen. Oil-free. Yes, Amazon does. I was actually, so my kids were virtual last year, so this is their first year of going to school with lunches. And so I was looking at Amazon, and there's a lot out there. Yeah, there's a lot of pretty cool containers. Let me see what other questions. So one thing I was, I'm not sure if you guys know who Ellen Fisher is, but I discovered her years ago on YouTube. And she created a video, and in it, it said how to make the perfect salad. So I love this, and I'll include, I just printed it out so I could refer to it, but I'll include it in what I send out, as well as like the link to her video. And it's great. It's kind of nice because it's kind of like what the formula is, and you can plug in whatever you have on hand. So she has 5 elements. Greens, choose 1 to 3. Veggies and non-sweet fruits, choose 1 to 3. Other elements of texture like pomegranate seeds, hemp seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, and then calories to be filling like garbanzo beans, black beans, potatoes, rice, quinoa, and then a dressing. And so she has like a formula for that dressing where there's a sour, so there's a lemon, a lime, a vinegar, a sauerkraut, or like an apple cider vinegar. A fat, you could choose like 1 to 2. And it's not like a rule, she's just saying this is the formula. Avocado, tahini, any other nuts or seeds. A hint of sweet, like a pitted date or some maple syrup or some diced dried figs. and then salty or spicy. So like salt, obviously, or salsa, or cayenne pepper, or black pepper. So I kind of like to have this formula in mind if I'm throwing together, and I just have it kind of in the back of my mind if I'm throwing together a quick lunch. If I have greens and I have other veggies, and then just making sure that I'm kind of checking off of that list. And I know that she subscribes to the Dr. Greger's daily dozen, and she does whole food, plant-based, oil-free as well. So that's what was kind of appealing to me. So I hope that's useful, and I can include that in what we send out. Yes, I get 365 Whole Foods tortillas too. I think they do have oil. Yeah, and the lunches, how long would your lunches be safe to eat without refrigeration? I guess it depends on what it is. I think like a morning. So if we're talking about somebody leaving the house and going to school, you could put an ice pack in the lunch bag, and I think it would be completely fine. Yeah, and Ezekiel wraps, one of the frustrating factors is that they crack whenever you're wrapping them. So you have to get a wet paper towel, put it in the microwave for like 15 seconds and kind of warm it up. And then you'll have a better time rolling it without it cracking. Yeah, hummus would be great on, lentil flatbread. That sounds pretty good. Yeah, I saw there was something about a white bean. You're talking about white beans. Yeah, you can make hummus out of really any beans, cannellini beans and Great Northern beans, like white beans, are great. We have a hummus that we make out of lima beans. Whenever we have like this kind of Greek week set of dishes, and we'll make a lima bean hummus, which is very nutritious, but also like a nice variation. Oh, horseradish. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and red pepper hummus is a favorite in my house. Any other questions?
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. And we will send out the recording tomorrow along with the recipes and all the information. So you don't have to take notes. It'll all be in your inbox tomorrow once we get it all up for you. But yeah, thank you so much. And I can't wait to put an order in. We are so lucky here in Pittsburgh to have somebody like you doing this amazing service, because it's very rare, as I'm sure a lot of the people that aren't in Pittsburgh can contest to that. We feel very lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. And if you are in the Pittsburgh area, if you go onto my website and sign up for the newsletter, you can get a 10% discount. And as I was going through this demo, I was thinking I'd like to include an offer, a special offer to the folks that are going to receive this email that can order from Pittsburgh. So I'll send that to you whenever I send the recipes over, Brittany.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to make everything that you made tonight. It looked fantastic. But thank you guys so much.
This was great.
Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye, guys.